Hey there, Business for Unicorns podcast listeners. This is Mark, and I'm here to tell you about an awesome free resource on businessforunicorns.com. If you ever find yourself feeling frustrated with your training gym because you know that there are all sorts of things you could work on, but you're not really sure how to prioritize, you don't know what's the most important thing to work on or what order you should be tackling your priorities, well, now is the time to go to businessforunicorns.com, click the button, and fill out our free self-assessment. With the Ultimate Training Gym Owner Report Card, you will gain immediate clarity on just where to be focusing your attention to create more positive impact on your community, to drive more revenue and take-home income, and to do it all with less stress and more peace of mind. So go to businessforunicorns.com, click the button, fill out that free self-assessment, and start building a business and life you love today.
Hello, fitness business nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. And today is a really special day for me because I'm here with one of my favorite humans in general and favorite humans to have on the podcast, Molly Galbraith. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be here.
I feel like our listeners probably know you well already, but many of you know Molly as the co-founder of Girls Gone Strong. And if you're not following Girls Gone Strong on Instagram and all the other places, you should be doing that because Molly is just one of the best content creators on the planet. I follow her because generally every single post, I'm like, damn, I learned something new every time. This is what good content creation is supposed to be about. And so, yeah, thank you for just putting out great stuff on a consistent basis for years and years and years. It makes me go to social media even when I don't want to.
Well, thank you for saying that. And thank you for all that you and Mark have done over the years, your friendship, your mentorship, your leadership. I'm constantly looking to you all as people who are, making a difference in the industry and people that I want to follow and learn from.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So let's dive in. I think the one big topic that is, a theme, obviously, through your work in Girls Gone Strong is just making the fitness industry a better place for women. And it's something that I know we could probably talk about for hours and hours, but we're going to try to do it in 25 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I first want to start with just making the case for all of the fitness business owners out there for why they should give a shit about this. And I don't mean that in a crass kind of way, but just generally speaking, because what I hear from sometimes, and I'm not voicing any one particular person, but generally the attitude I get about this is, well, I have female coaches. Isn't that enough? Or, I work with lots of females. My female clients love me. Isn't that enough? And so why should I be doing more than that? So how do you answer that question?
Yeah, that is a doozy. And, I think I can throw some numbers at you all. So 67 to 75% of people who hire a health, fitness, or nutrition professional are women. And as much as we like to think that being a woman allows us to know everything that it takes, to coach women, it's kind of like that same myth that like being a guy, you automatically know what to do in the gym, right? Or you automatically know what to how to fix a car, whatever. Like it doesn't work like that. And so I think there are so many specific areas, and what we found over the years at Girls Gone Strong is there are a lot of really key areas in which women are being underserved in the industry. So one of my kind of favorite sayings, I guess, or the thing that I think really hits home for people is that in health and fitness, women are over marketed to, but we're underserved. And so folks who've taken, even if they have an undergrad degree or a master's degree, in exercise science or kinesiology or biomechanics, or they've taken, certain certifications, like when you're reading through that certification, what you're not reading about is specifically how to coach women differently, right? You might have a paragraph or two about her menstrual cycle or something about like a Q angle and an ACL, right? But there's so much other stuff to know about coaching women really well. And there are anatomical and physiological differences, right? But there are so many psychological considerations when it comes to coaching women well. So we hit on all kinds of, and so there's a lot about coaching women that's similar, right? Progressive overload still applies, like a lot of the same biomechanics principles apply, like that kind of stuff. Is very similar, but there's a lot to know that many coaches are missing. So understanding that 80 to 81% of women in the US and Canada report being dissatisfied with their body. 75% of women report engaging in disordered eating habits and behaviors. folks who have a menstrual cycle are going to go through menopause at some point. 85% of women are going to have a baby at some point in their life. Once they do, they're postpartum forever. Doesn't mean that they're fragile, doesn't mean that they can't get back to activities that they love, but it's kind of, again, like having ACL surgery. You're never going to be pre-ACL surgery again, right? There are certain things that you have to do to help rehab and recover so that you can return to sport or exercise in an appropriate way. So there's just a lot of unique considerations when it comes to coaching women that health and fitness professionals don't understand. And we did a survey years back in our community and asked women about negative experiences with coaches or trainers. And the most shocking stat that we uncovered was that of the women who had had a negative experience with their coach or trainer, 97% ended up leaving their coach or trainer, and only 3.5% told the truth about why.
Yep.
So if she's saying, I can't afford it anymore, it doesn't work with my schedule, my kids are going to be out of school, like there's a good chance that she's not actually giving you the feedback about why she's maybe not training with you anymore. And here's the thing. These were good trainers these were unintentional mistakes that they were making. Yep. They were, offhand comments, they were judgments, they were assumptions about maybe a woman's goals or her ability level, right? And so, and I think it's important for trainers to understand that there's maybe a lot of things kind of going on behind the scenes or underneath that they're not aware of.
Yeah. Oh, those stats are so, so revealing and upsetting and it's so important that our listeners hear this. So thank you. There's so much.
Sorry, I've got one more. Sorry, one more I just
Please.
thought about that I didn't even get to touch on.
Yeah.
There was a 2016 study in Perth, Western Australia of like 400 or 500 gym goers, age 18 to 82, and 50% of them reported leaking urine during exercise, regardless of whether or not they had had a child. And so I think for a lot of folks, they think, oh, well, that's just something that happens like when you're pregnant or immediately postpartum. Nope. But there's a good chance that up to half the women that you're working with are leaking urine a little bit when they're doing box jumps or, deadlifting or, running or sprinting or whatever the thing is. So that's another kind of like ding, 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 ding. Oh, yeah. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't even know to ask about this with my clients.
Yeah. I mean, what a great example. Let's normalize peeing a little bit when you're working out. It's going to happen, like, let's make that okay. Well, I mean, the thing that stood out to me so much is one of the first things you said is that just because, even if you have women trainers in your space, or you are a woman who owns the gym, does not mean you've done everything you can to equip yourself to serve women, right? And I feel the same way, having Mark Fisher Fitness be a primarily kind of people identify as queer on some level, does not mean I understand what it's like to serve each and one of those very diverse humans in all the ways they want to be served. And so I think it's a great reminder, all of them out there, is that there's more you all can be doing to get better at serving women. And I think some of these categories are great places to start. The other thing that came up for me is that we're all going to make mistakes with our clients. We're all going to say the wrong things, treat people in some way that they do not want to be treated. And that's going to happen regardless of how well trained you are, how many certs. But the baseline, the thing that was missing in some examples you gave there, is just a baseline of a lack of psychological safety where they weren't even comfortable telling you they were uncomfortable. And I think that's a great place to start. We could talk the whole podcast about that, but making sure that with all of your clients, women and otherwise, that there's a baseline of safety for them to tell you when something's not going right, when something is uncomfortable or they're in pain, they don't like the word you used, right? That is a great place to start. I mean, there's a little bit of a tangent, but just give me some thoughts off the top of your head about how do you create that environment where people are comfortable telling you that's not right?
Yes, I love that question. And I do want to say, because I've been asked this before, like, do you think men can train women well, or do you think women can train men well? And I want to be clear. I think any person of any gender can coach any person of any gender well. I think that's really important to note. I think the issue is when we don't understand, or when we don't know that there's a lot about their experience or their life that we don't know, right? So all of us are shaped by our lived experiences. That's shaped by our, gender identity and our race and our sexual orientation and, our socioeconomic status and our geographic location and all of these things. So if we don't recognize, if we assume that our experience is going to be everyone else's experience, then that's going to be a problem. So if we have a baseline understanding that there's a lot about this person that I don't know, I think that's a really great place to start. one of the really important things that we've started doing in the last couple years that it's one of those ideas that once you hear it, you're like, why didn't I think of this before? This is so obvious. But we have started adding a boundaries section on our intake form for our clients. And so we give our clients the ability to opt in to conversations that might for them be, possibly triggering or uncomfortable or whatever. Because we have guys say like, how do I ask my client about her period? Like, is she going to freak out, right?
Yeah.
If I do that. So we have a consent section, essentially a boundary section on our intake form. And we say, hey, there's a lot, that can go on in your life outside of the gym that may impact the results that you're getting. And there's a lot of things that I know about that I might be able to help with or direct you to the right person. Which of these topics are you comfortable talking with me about? And here's the thing. We don't just list the things like menstrual cycle and pelvic health. We list things like nutrition and sleep and stress, because for a lot of women, questions about their nutrition can be incredibly triggering. If they come to you to increase their deadlift and you're asking them about their diet, right? Or you're assuming that fat loss is one of their goals, that can be super triggering. If they're a new mom who hasn't been getting sleep, or maybe even they have a 3-year-old who's not sleeping yet, a trainer who's like, you should really get more sleep, right? Like that might set her off, you know what I mean? Because she's been struggling with that for so long. And so, we added this boundary section to our intake forms that say like, hey, here's some things that I might be able to help you with. Check the box. You can opt in or out of these conversations, and you can change your mind at any time. And just even putting that out to your client and saying, it's your choice what we talk about. Like, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. And I understand that you might have a unique circumstance that makes you comfortable or not comfortable talking about these things, has been huge.
I mean, I'm just going to give you a round of applause on the podcast here, right? I mean, it's so brilliant, and you're right. Like, how did we not think of that sooner, right? But it's the idea that there's going to be all kinds of things outside this 1 hour we spend together that impact your ability to get the results that we're working on together. Are you cool talking about those things? Your anxiety at work, your sleep habits, your food, your family, right? Are you okay having those conversations? If you are, then I need to make sure my team is trained up enough to be able to actually engage. If you say you're comfortable talking about anxiety, does my team have any toolbox at all to have that conversation? And so I think that's so smart. And that already does a great job of creating a baseline of some psychological bravery, right? Is the idea that we can take risks together. We can talk about hard things together. You can tell me things that are not working. I can ask you probing questions, right? And that already is setting an expectation that if something's wrong, we're going to talk about it. We're going to fix it. And so those, whatever the number was, 98% of people, 97% of people don't just get pissed off and leave, right? Say, no, we're going to talk about it. If you're pissed off, tell me. Let's talk. Yeah. Because I know there's another stat. I think it was something like 95% of people who complain to a business will stay if their complaint is resolved quickly. And so, if you are comfortable enough to give the complaint and the business hears you out and then does something about it quickly, you're going to stay. You want it to work out, right? Changing a gym, changing any service in your life is hard. To go find a new one and get comfortable again. People want to stay if they've had a good experience. So yeah, this is
for me. It actually strengthens my relationship with them if something negative has happened versus if something good, if it's just always been good, right? Because then it's just you just kind of assume it's always going to be good. But it's like, oh, if something doesn't go well with this person, they care enough to step in and fix it because I matter to them. And at that point, for me at least, I become even more of a champion of them.
100%. I mean, that's all of my long-term friendships are long-term friendships because we've been through some shit together, and they've learned over time, what my needs are, how to support me, I know how to support them. So yeah, same thing with clients. So another topic, next is similar but different, is one of the things I've heard you talk a lot about in some of your social media posts was that this myth or this idea that's perpetuated in our industry that every woman wants fat loss. Everyone's just there for fat loss. Everyone just wants to get smaller, thinner, etc. And while we know that's not true, maybe some of our listeners know intellectually that's not true, that's still not often how we show up as an industry. So can you just talk a little bit about that challenge and how we start to change the dialogue?
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been a really fabulous shift that I think we've seen. I've been in the industry for 18 years. When I first got in, every single thing was geared towards losing weight, shrinking, being smaller, being thinner. I think we've seen a really beautiful rise in a diversity of bodies. There's been a lot more realization that you can be fit and healthy in a variety of shapes and sizes. I think there's been a lot more acceptance of that. I think a lot of women are just tired of literally wasting their life thinking about the size of their thighs. And so I think it's very important for coaches and trainers to understand that there are going to be women who come to you for fat loss. Absolutely. And I want to put a stick and pin in that, because I think there's some really cool things that we can do there as coaches and trainers, but there's also going to be women who come to you because they want to increase their deadlift. They want to get a pull up for the first time. They want to feel strong. They're, entering perimenopause or menopause, and maybe they realize they've got osteopenia. So they're on their way to osteoporosis, and their, mom had a hip fracture and had some negative experience, right? They found out they're pregnant and they want to have a safe and healthy, strong pregnancy. And so there's going to be a lot of different goals that clients come to you with. And I think it's really critical to understand that not all women are going to want the same thing. And it's, again, sounds so obvious when you say it, but I cannot tell you the number of women who've told me that they walk into a gym, they are looking to hire a trainer, they have a specific strength or performance goal, and the trainer starts, wanting to weigh them, wanting to take their body composition, wanting to talk to them about their nutrition, and they're like, yo, that's not what I'm here for, right? So I think it's really critical that we respect that women are going to come in with different goals and have a plan for how to help them get there. And if they come to us for weight loss, I also think we have a really powerful opportunity to help them examine what specifically they feel like that weight loss is going to do for them. Because we know so many women are dissatisfied with their bodies. So many women come in with unrealistic expectations, and they come in with unrealistic expectations of either what they want their body to look like, or, they have the fitness influencer and they're like, I want to look like her, right? Or they say, I need to lose 20 pounds this month, or, so they have unrealistic expectations of the timelines, or unrealistic expectations of what it's going to take to get the thing that they think they want, right? And so if we can help them start to dig deeper into what it is that they feel like fat loss is going to do for them, if we can help them get clear on their values around their life and their body, what do they actually want for their life, then for a lot of them, fat loss may remain the goal. But if we can help them get clear on the why, then it actually strengthens their resolve and helps them, motivates them, gives them more intrinsic motivation to make the behavior changes that it takes for them to lose the fat. Or it helps them say, you know what, like, being the weight that I was in high school actually isn't that important. I just want to feel comfortable when I put on a pair of shorts, and I just want to feel, like I can wear a bathing suit at the pool and not feel self-conscious. Like, I don't have to be 120 pounds. I can, just do this instead. And so I think understanding that there's always going to be a deeper why to the goals that our clients have, and then how we can help them get clear on what that why is, and their values for their life and their body is really critical as well. So we do a lot of values-based goal setting within Girls Gone Strong as well, helping folks set goals that are not just outcome-based and not even just behavior-based, but values-based.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think that's such a crucial skill set for gym owners and staff to learn, right? Is that often I hear when people are doing intake sessions and learning about their clients and what their goals are, the conversation ends in, what's your goal? I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, great. Got it. Moving on. And what I hear you saying, and I think is the best practice for everyone here, is that's the start of the conversation, right? Because then you get into, okay, well, if that's your goal, how do you see that goal serving you long term? How is that goal functioning in your life, right? Paint a picture for me of you achieving that goal in 5 years. What's important about that, right? And I love your approach. It goes even further and be like, cool. Well, what do you really value? What life values do you have that are aligned with this goal? So maybe talk through a little bit. What does the conversation sound like for y'all when you take this values-based approach? What are some of the questions you ask?
Yeah, we literally have clients go through a list of values and narrow them down. So we start with a values assessment. We ask them to think about, when it comes to health and fitness, what's most important to them. What do they value in their life? Do they value freedom? Do they value ease? Do they value adventure? Do they value family, right? So we actually take a set of values in our coaching program and have them, they narrow it down to 10, and then they narrow it down to 5, and then they narrow it down to 3. And then we actually have them kind of rank those values against one another, right? So if the one of your things is family and one of them is ease, right? Ultimately, which one's more important to you? Do you want things to be a little bit easier for you, or do you want, are you going to prioritize whatever's best for your family in that situation? And then we help them set implementation. We help them set goals that are rooted in their values, and we ask them to reality test it. So if you want to lose, 10 pounds, but freedom and ease are your top goal or your top values, right? How does that losing 10 pounds align with that, freedom and ease? And do you think a quote unquote like macro based eating program, right, is going to be the thing that's going to give you the freedom and ease to help you lose the 10 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Or, what are some different behaviors that we can start implementing? Like, could you, instead of, wanting to count macros, because so many people come to us wanting to do that, could you maybe eat a little bit more slowly? Could you maybe take a halftime intermission at your meals? Could you put your fork down in between bites? Things like that. So we have them start with all these different values, narrow it down to their top three, kind of rank them against each other. So if they're ever in competition with one another, it's helpful for them to make a decision. Then have them set their outcome-based goal that they want and help them choose which behaviors they can do to achieve that outcome-based goal that align with their values.
Yeah. I mean, Molly, you're getting another podcast round of applause here. My golf clap. People can
We
hear.
have a whole article. If people want to learn
Yeah.
more about how we do it, we have an article about it called how to set a goal you'll actually reach, I think, on Girls Gone Strong, or you can just Google values-based goal setting. And we recently released a free menopause course. So we do a lot of free 5-day courses at Girls Gone Strong. We have them on disordered eating, body image, menopause, pelvic health. And in the menopause one, we felt like it was a really powerful opportunity for women and coaches who work with women to allow women to think like, this is a transitional period in my life. Like, what do I actually want from my life at this stage, right? Like, maybe I've got kids or grandkids that I want to spend more time with. Maybe I'm recognizing I'm not as strong or don't have the stamina or the energy to play with them, right? So we actually walk through the values-based goal setting in that free course as well. So if anybody's interested in that, they can just Google Menopause Secrets Girls Gone Strong course, and we'll be able to find the actual system that we use to walk people through it.
Yeah, it's so brilliant, Molly. And the thing I'll say to listeners is that this is not just some like woo-woo, holding, let's play with the crystals kind of approach, right? There's like real research that has not, and people love crystals, so shout out to my crystal lovers out there. But as an example, right, this is not some, there's real research that shows that having a value-based approach to goal setting makes people more likely to achieve those goals. And if we're in the business of helping people set and achieve realistic goals in the most healthy, sustainable way possible, this approach will help you keep more clients longer, keep clients coming back longer, build faster relationships based on trust and loyalty and authenticity, right? I mean, there's so many boxes that this approach checks that is really been based in real science, right? And because when you base these, values are really ideals we put up on a pedestal, right? Beliefs and ideals that we think we cherish in our life. And when you can set expectations and goals based on those things that you really hold deeply, right? Beliefs you hold deeply, you're more likely to care about them. It's more likely to be meaningful. It's more likely you can be realistic about what you can accomplish when you talk about aligning your goals to the things you care about. And so it makes sense. It makes so much sense. So, I mean, bravo for you and your team for being so brilliant in doing this.
Well, thank you. We are definitely standing on the shoulders of giants who have come before us in nutrition and health and fitness and, psychology and behavior change and things like that. I want health and fitness professionals and coaches to know, like, this is an opportunity to set yourself apart from other people in your gym or your community. I can't tell you the number of folks who go through our free courses, who take our certifications, and they say, like, I'm now the go-to coach in the gym for coaching women, right? And the front desk staff recommends people to me. Other trainers come to me when they have questions, or, our gym has become the go-to studio in town for working with women. Like, everybody sends women to us because they know that we specialize in coaching women, right? And just because you specialize in coaching women doesn't mean you can't coach men as well. But when 67 to 75% of the people who are going to be seeking your services are women, becoming known as the go-to coach for that in your gym or community is a powerful way to build your business.
Yeah. Well, and also that the thing that distinguishes you, Molly, and your team, and you're right, that you stand on the shoulders of giants. I mean, this research on values-based goal setting or, psychological safety that I mentioned, it's been around since like the 50s. I mean, it's been around for a long time. This is not new information in social science, right? And the thing that makes you stand apart is that you actually are implementing it. You find a way to operationalize these ideas consistently and consistently create an experience around these best practices. And that's where the rubber meets the road. The people I talk to really struggle to operationalize the ideas. They might know that the best practice, but they can't figure out how to implement it and train their team and stay consistent with doing it. So maybe can you just talk about that piece for a little bit? So even this idea of training people to take someone through a values-based kind of coaching session, just talk a little bit about how do you operationalize that idea consistently in the business?
Yes, you know what? I have to give so much credit to Jen Comas, who's a Girls Gone Strong co-founder. She's head of our GGS coaching program. She runs all the curriculum for that, and she will take what we're actually doing with our clients in our coaching program and be the one who makes sure that it shows up in our certification. So she's the one who's trained all of our coaches how to do that. It's part of the curriculum. Like you have to develop the values assessment, which again, people can find on our website when they search for that article. Develop the values assessment, make it part of your intake, have your team do their own values assessment, right?
Yep.
So that they can understand why it's actually important to them, and then take them through the exercises. Like, okay, if this goal is what's most important to you, and this is your outcome, what are some behaviors that it would take for you to reach that? And then when you look at these behaviors, do any of these align with your goals or not? And I think taking them through, having them do it themselves, having them practice doing it and coaching it with each other is really important. But it has to become not just a nice thing to do, but it has to become part of the intake form when folks come into your gym.
Yeah, 100%. I think really well said. And I love that idea of have your staff do it themselves with each other. They have to practice and role play. I mean, learning how to lead someone through a conversation like this, it's a little bit like learning a new language, right? Or learning to ride a bike. You can't do it by just reading about it, right? You have to actually do it and practice it for it to feel natural and to find your own style. And so I think it's so key. I think that's where some people drop the ball, is they send someone to a cert and just think it's going to happen. And it's like, well, no, you have to actually practice and fold it in and train each other and get the reps in. And so I think that's great advice.
And think about why, in our certs, we do a lot of stop and think exercises, right? So we'll say like, okay, at this point in a woman's pregnancy, this is what's going on with her blood volume, and this is what's happening respiratory wise. What do you think she might be experiencing during this? What are some symptoms that she might be having? How are some ways that you might adapt her training program if this, right? So instead of just saying, here's how you do it, it's like, no. Give people, people are pretty smart, coaches are pretty smart. Let's tell them what some of the changes are and give them the opportunity to brainstorm. So I think any way that you can teach a bit of information and then kind of step back and say, what do you think about this? How might you implement this? What are some questions you might ask, right? Let them brainstorm for themselves instead of just telling them exactly how it works.
Yeah. Well said, Molly. I mean, we were talking this before we recorded, but some listeners know that I just finished doing a master's degree in organizational psychology. Thank you. And one of the things that was one of just my top 5 takeaways from this program is something you just said really beautifully, which is adults actually don't learn from their lived experience. They learn from reflecting on their lived experience. And so when you're teaching your team or your clients anything, it's one thing to tell them the information, to give them the experience of doing that push-up or give them the experience of having that coaching conversation. But when they actually learn is in the moments afterwards, is in the pause where you said, stop and think, right? It's the pause that actually where that information gets woven into, their brain, right? It gets woven into their understanding and models of the world. It's in the reflection. And so I think you just said it so beautifully, is that when you're teaching your team a new skill set like this, give them time to reflect, give them time to pause and map that new information onto their understanding of their work. And that's when the real learning happens.
And then they can turn around and do that with their clients. So okay, so your goal is to lose 10 pounds. You've done macro counting before in the past. You said that it helped you reach your goal, but you couldn't sustain it. You're interested in trying it again, but your top value is ease. So how did macro counting work for you in that way? Did it feel easy? Did it feel like something you could do forever? You know what I mean? Then ding, ding. Instead of saying macro counting isn't going to work for you, right? Then they're like, you know what? Actually, it wasn't easy. It was really exhausting to have to count and weigh and measure and take pictures of my stuff and upload it to this app. Let people come to their own conclusions by asking them those sorts of questions.
It's so much more powerful learning. Right. It's just so much more lasting learning. Yeah. Amazing. Well, we're coming to 30 minutes here and I wish we had another 3 hours, but we don't. So I want to wrap things up here. Maybe one last piece of advice. So the 2 things that we really talked about here, you talked about your kind of boundary setting as part of your intake process. You talked about values-based goal setting as part of your intake process, and a whole bunch more. But, given all of that, what's your best advice for listeners to take away from this call to go do next?
Yeah, honestly, I would sign up for one of our free 5-day courses and
Great.
just get a taste of the way that we teach, get a taste of the way that we are actually relaying the information to you as well. Download the bonus resources that come with it. It walks you through it. Again, we have them for health and fitness professionals on menopause, body image, disordered eating, pelvic health. You can literally Google any of those topics and Girls Gone Strong free 5-day course. And I think again, it'll be more powerful for them to see in action the way that
Yep.
we're teaching, right?
Yep.
Versus like, just being told to do the thing.
Yeah.
So that would be and we also have a closed Facebook group for health and fitness professionals. It's called GGS Coaching and Training Women. It is hands down the most thoughtful, inclusive, kind, forward thinking group of people. We do not mess around in that group. It is tightly moderated in the way that you have to be helpful, thoughtful, kind, or like you're not part of that group, right?
Great.
And so yeah, it's a really beautiful. There's 55,000 health and fitness professionals in there at this point from all over the world, current and aspiring. And so yeah, it's just a really beautiful place. Even if you want to just be a fly on the wall and observe the types of questions people are asking, the advice that they're giving, that's a really powerful kind of next step for folks as well.
Yeah, amazing. Well, listeners, if you are not running right now to go join that Facebook group, and you're not running right now to go take a free 5-day course, what are you doing with your life? I mean, the fact that y'all are offering these 5-day courses for free and they're such high quality, well-researched, well thought out pieces of content is just insane to me. Like, good for you. I mean, what a gift to the world. So friends, go run and take one. And if you don't, I'll come searching for you. I'm going to make you do it. Thank you so much, Molly. Anywhere else can people find you online? Where else can they follow you on the social medias, etc.?
Yeah. So I'm most active right now on Instagram. So I'm at the Molly Galbraith. I don't know who has Molly Galbraith, but I'm gonna go find them because I think they have like one post and like one follower. Like the Molly Galbraith, the Girls Gone Strong. Like you said, we post a ton of educational content on there on a regular basis. And then and then that free closed Facebook group, GGS Coaching and Training Women. Those are the best places to find me.
Amazing. Well, thank you as always, my friend. This was so enlightening. You're always doing such great work. It's such an inspiration. So thank you for giving a little bit of your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me listen to your voice for the last 35 minutes. It's so soothing. And like you just, you create psychological safety just even like with your presence and your energy. So thanks for everything. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. We'll do it again sometime, I'm sure.
Well, I hope you loved today's podcast. And forgive me, I want to remind you one more time, if you haven't already done so, head over to businessofunicorns.com, click the button, and get your free self-assessment, the ultimate training gym owner report card. I promise you, you're going to want to dig into this resource and get the support you need, finding crystal clarity on exactly where you need to be focusing to create a life and a business you love.